Ah.
Okay, so we are live. So I'm going to close this over here.
Okay.
Yay,
live.
Oh, here we go. All right, so then we're just going to go ahead and record. All right, so we're all ready to go.
Woo-hoo.
So hello, everybody out there who is choosing to listen to our video over here. My name is Dagmar, and next to me is Kevin. Gavin. I'm sorry, Gavin.
Oh, what am I going to do with you, Dagmar?
I keep calling you Kevin for some reason.
It's so funny.
Gavin. So anyway, we're the Love and Freedom Patriots, and we're basically reading between the lines as to what's happening out in our world today. And so we're going to have a candid discussion between the two of us, and you can listen in on it. And just know that it's all opinion. But it's I think it's a very good opinions we have, Gavin and I. So I hope you enjoy our opinions.
Yeah,
and you'll tune into us and you know, check out your own stuff. You know, if you don't believe it, go do your own research. That's what I would say, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, Gavin. So do you want to go ahead and tell us what you do?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny because as you called me Kevin, I've had that issue. I've had that issue all my life, right?
Are you serious? Oh my God.
Yeah, of course, because growing up, Gavin was never a popular name. In fact, I was the only Gavin around for, decades. It wasn't until, I was in my 30s that I actually met a Gavin.
Wow.
And, it was everybody, and it was pretty easy. Gavin, but people call me Kevin, Garvin, Galvin, Kevin.
All sorts of names, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty ironic and awfully funny that our very first show you introduced me as Kevin. Love you.
I must be reading that energy again. Your vibration. Who knows? I mean,
you're so funny.
By the way, we are both clairvoyant, Gavin and I. It's a lot of fun from that respect as well. We pick up on things,
Very true.
All right, sorry about that. But yeah, I've never heard the name Gavin actually. So it's I've never known anybody else named Gavin either. It's a very different name. Very special person here, Gavin. So.
Just like yours, Dagmar, a unique name. So and a beautiful, unique name. So we have two beautiful, unique names, two beautiful souls, bringing to you our opinions, our humor,
yes,
and of course our silliness. I'm a marriage and family counselor by education and training. I'm currently a case manager here in Colorado. I've been doing this spirituality, energy work, counseling. I've been in the field of psychology ever since grad school. And that's 30 plus years. So, woohoo.
Wow, nice.
So psychology.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you. It's important to me, one, to give back and contribute to society in a meaningful way. And the other thing is, I just love people. I'm a people person. I love helping people. I love relating with people. I love connecting with people. I love talking with people. I love people. So I knew that I wanted to have a career that allowed me to work with people and connect with them on a genuine level. So there you have it. Thank you for welcoming us on our Love and Freedom Patriots TV channel.
Yes. And so my name is Dagmar, and I've been 15 years in the healing field. I'm a spiritual healer or a quantum healer, multidimensional healer, or Akashic field healer, or whatever you want to call me. And I'm also clairvoyant, and I'm also teacher, mentor, and author and speaker. And basically I've been 15 plus years in that field of healing And I know how to shift energy. I know how to shift your vibration to bend reality. And, when I talk about, it's funny, people quite often, I mean, don't believe it,
Right.
that you can actually change reality to the extent that I know you can.
Yep.
And so quite often it just goes over people's heads. And, they're just kind of like just nodding, that's it.
It's outside of their reality. It's
It's
outside of their.
outside, yeah, it's outside of people's reality that it's possible.
Mhm.
And so, I've improved many, many lives over the 15 years that I actually been doing this. And I also have been a healer and clairvoyant in many other lifetimes. So I have a lot of wisdom that came across from other lifetimes with me. I've
Right.
also had a lot of persecutions in my past lifetimes. And so
Oh, yeah.
I actually had closed the door on all of this at some point in life, probably a different life, not this life, but I didn't readily know that about myself when I was younger. And it literally, I was asleep, like Sleeping Beauty, until my twin flame came along in 2005 and woke me up out of my stupor
Amen.
and scared the living bejesus out of me by knocking on my bedroom window to him in the morning, drunk out of his ass, with
Jeez.
a criminal record up, sky high.
Wow.
And it was quite the scare he gave me. And but trusted me into that whole journey of spiritual stuff. And I worked with a shaman for a while and started really reconnecting with that whole spiritual realm. And then
Awesome.
ran into my huge wall of fear that I never knew I even had,
Right.
which thrusted me into the whole healing field as well. So anyway, that's kind of the beginning of my story of where I came from. And I'm actually born in the Czech Republic in Prague. I'm
Nice.
not native to the United States. My parents actually escaped in 1969, 1 year after the Prague invasion
Wow.
of communism. And so it gives me quite a unique perspective on world events, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. When you travel the world, you experience different cultures, your perspective expands. And I've experienced different political cultures, so political, I guess venues or whatever you want to call it, or arenas, coming from the Eastern Bloc, the whole communism part, and then, going to the Western Bloc, the more socialistic part, right? Then we spent a couple of years in South Africa. That was actually during the apartheid, So
Wow.
that was a whole different political arena,
Yeah.
So yeah, and then coming to the United States where you have the capitalistic stuff and, so forth. So I have a very interesting perspective on all that. And you will pick up on that as we talk, I'm sure. So anyway, that's about me. And so thank you so much for tuning in with us. And I hope you enjoy our conversations and our ideas and our thoughts. Hope they inspire you to whatever direction you want to go.
Yep.
And, that's all I got to say. So today, I think we talked about Gavin. We wanted to talk about perhaps the cancel culture. What do you think?
Let's do it. Absolutely. I'm in. That's our topic for our first show.
Okay.
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture. Now, that's a very recent term that came up. Do you have any specifics as to what the meaning of it is in terms of out there, what people tend to think of what the cancel culture is?
I have my own version. I haven't read some formal definition, given by the fake news. I mean, the mainstream media.
Well, I have my own version too, but I was wondering, I didn't have a chance to look it up to see what actually people mean by it.
Right, right. So I just think in a nutshell, it is very straightforward. They are censoring and trying to squash anything that opposes their narrative, anything that causes dissent. In other words, it's pretty ironic that we are trying to pull everyone together through love and freedom, patriots, and unity, and yet the conservatives, I'm going to say, we are saying how the other side is so
Mhm.
divisive. And this is another way that they show how they are divisive by
You
pointing,
talk about the conservatives being divisive or the Democrats?
yeah, the Democrats,
Democrats, okay.
those who are canceling culture. That's who we're talking about.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
who I'm talking about. So it's ironic how Biden says he wants unity, and yet
Mhm.
they are behind this whole divisive approach of canceling culture and every
Mhm.
other divisive method that they've been using over the
Right.
years, decades.
Yes. And I mean, yeah, to me, the cancel culture is about stopping, right? It's stopping, 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 stop you from living, stop you from doing, stop you from this, stop you from that. It doesn't allow for anything else but to stop, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
stopping to live. And you can't just stop living, right?
right.
And you know what's interesting to me about that is that we've been actually in the cancel culture for a long time.
True. You're right. And it just
And
never was called cancer culture.
right. And it's been always kind of subdued, not as obvious, I guess, if you will. Because if you look at for example, the entire police department and how police functions in our country, it's
Right.
all about stopping.
Yeah.
About
Prohibiting.
stop, yeah, prohibiting. It's about stopping. It's
That's right.
stopping you from doing this. It's stopping you from doing that. It's stopping you from doing this. It's stopping you from doing that. And it's not about showing you a different way.
No,
It's not about teaching you something else. It's about
no,
stopping. It's always
about
about stopping.
about limiting our
Yeah,
freedoms.
exactly. And one of the things that I observed very thoroughly in the past years, I always said, in the United States, we're becoming more and more communist or socialistic,
Yeah.
you know, because, and people don't realize this, something happens, a dog bites somebody. And
Right.
so what we do, we create a law
Hmm.
prohibiting something,
That's right.
okay, limiting our freedom. Now, it may not always, it may be just an exception to matters, right? There was a, dog that something happened, whatever. So, but what you're doing across the board, you're actually limiting everything, everybody.
Yeah. True.
Okay. And this is with everything, somebody falls off some railing. Oh, you can't do that anymore. Stop it.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And if you go up there and now do that, then you're going to be arrested for that now.
Right. Right.
And so we're constantly doing that. And so we're constantly limiting our freedoms. And
Yes.
you know what it does also, what I've observed, Gavin, is that instead of teaching people more responsibility and how to be responsible,
Right.
this sort of behavior, this cancel culture, is actually promoting victimhood.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now you're always a victim to everything. It's like you can't do it on you. You can't make your own decision. You can't decide for yourself if your dog, to train your dog the way you need to train him or how you want to, do the dog. No, you have to now have the dog on leash. You can't walk him here. And so, yeah, it's always prohibiting, prohibiting, prohibiting. And that's the cancel culture. And it so goes against, I guess, the personal freedom and my idea of where we're going in the fifth dimension,
True
which is
that.
more freedom, more
Amen.
responsibility, more freedom. And you know what's so interesting about the whole fifth dimension? Once you rise higher in vibrations, you
What's
take on
that?
more responsibility and you have more freedom.
Yes. It's kind of ironic, and
Yes.
it's not intuitive the way we live here in 3 dimension on planet Earth. In other words, it's very unintuitive. In
Yes.
other words, more freedom, or I should say, more responsibility doesn't mean more freedom. Here on Mother Earth right now, in our current society and culture, more responsibility means less freedom. But in the
Really?
fifth dimension,
Give me an example on that.
sure. Well, more responsibility means that you have more things to do, and these things in turn take more of your time and restrict
Oh,
and
I see.
limit what you have to do, limit your free time, limit your ability to do what you want to do because you
Well,
have all these other responsibilities.
Are you talking about like a job, or what are you talking about specifically?
Sure, it could be a job. I'm talking about anything in general. If I'm just making the statement that if you take on more responsibility, by definition, in my mind, you have less freedom because now you've got, instead of 4 things to do, now you've got 20 things to do, which is going to take
Mhm.
up more of your time. So I'm coming from that perspective.
Yeah, it's a different connotation about responsibility. Now, mind you that we all can have different ideas about what responsibility means. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
right.
based on personal experience and all that stuff, or personal pain we've experienced around responsibility, we can have very different connotations around responsibility.
For sure.
I don't have, for example, that concept about responsibility, that it means more work. I don't.
Cool.
To me, responsibility means more that you have more choices, really. It's like, when you're responsible for something or someone, it's up to you to make the right decisions and choose the right things, to keep things flowing, to keep yourself healthy, or the person healthy, or responsible for, or the dog, or whatever.
Right.
That you have those choices, you're in charge. That's what responsibility means to me.
Got you.
And I mean, yes, with that, you can have more work. Sure, because now if I'm responsible for my dog, I have to go make sure and buy the food. I have to, make sure and take him to the vet if needed, or whatever, right? So yeah, but I guess I never dreaded the work that comes with responsibility or anything like that, because I
Wonderful.
like the choice. I like the choices. I guess
Yeah.
that's important to me, is the freedom of choice that I have with the responsibility. And I've always yearned to have more responsibility because of that.
Nice.
Because I like the choice. I like the freedom of it.
Yeah.
I like to be responsible for things. In
Right.
fact, probably even too much, because it almost borderlines controlling it, right? Because you are more in control of things, right? In that regards, right?
Wait, are you saying an Aries wants to be in control? Is that what you're telling me?
I guess so. As this area is particularly. Oh, by the way, both Gavin and our Ariuses, we're like 10 days apart in our birthdays. In fact,
True.
your birthday's coming up on the 10th. Mine's on the 20th of April of
Happy
next month.
birthday, all you Aries.
Soon, right? I know. So we're both Ariuses, which is interesting and awesome. So yeah, I don't know if it's just Ariuses that want to be in control. I find that actually people who have lots of unresolved pain in their that they carry with them need to control more, because they want to control the environment not to get hurt. So a lot of that has to do with control and things like that too.
For sure.
So yeah, that's my take on responsibility and how I feel personally about responsibility. I don't mind
Like it.
responsibility at all. You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind it. I was just saying that to me, it equals more work and less time for yourself because you have more responsibilities to take care of.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, back to our cancel culture. Is there anything else you want to say about our cancel culture? How do we get out of our cancel culture?
That's a great question. Why don't we go back to how did this even begin, right? You
Why are
mentioned,
we such a cancel culture?
I mean, you mentioned that this movement, or officially cancel culture, as we've now termed it in 2021 or 2020 when it first started, you mentioned that has actually been going on for decades. And I agree with you. It's just been discreet. It's been under the radar. It's been
Right.
very subtle. It never went by that name, cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
What the corrupt politicians did was simply make another law that stripped away another one of our freedoms,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
people just shrugged and, hey, oh, well, what can you do? That's just the way it is,
Well, and
and
that's the thing, Gavin, is we actually moved from socialism into communism in our country. So we're talking about extreme, going from the little bit of a cancel culture to a lot of cancel culture, right?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool. So, yeah, so it's been interesting, that we have, so much of what we're doing today that's part of the cancel culture is really what has been happening in my country under communism. Like all this, censoring of speech. You know what
Yeah.
we used to say? We used to say, always be careful what you say to somebody else because the walls have ears. Because they
Right.
would put bugs in the walls. And
Literally.
yeah,
Literally.
uh-huh.
You mean electronic
Under
bugs?
under communism, yeah. There would be bugs all over, or people could hear you, and people would tell on each other. See,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing that happened on the commons, a lot of divisiveness, right, amongst people. So they divided people against each other, so people will tell on each other and stuff.
Just what they're
And
doing right now in
just
America.
like, exactly, that's exactly what's happened in our country. And
We're
it
virtue
was under
signaling.
communism like that, yeah.
We're calling it virtue signaling. You know, hey, you don't have your mask on. I'm going to report you.
Yeah,
Craziness.
it is. It is. And so, in essence, it's then the people doing it to each other, right? All that
Right.
nastiness. So you don't even have to have the government doing to you, and then they create the situation such that people do it to each other now.
That's right.
And so, yeah, it was very much like that under communism in our country back then. Lots of censorship. I mean, and all you ever saw on TV was propaganda.
Right.
You didn't
Like now.
see what was going on. Exactly. You never saw what was going on in the rest of the world. Now, the advantage we have in today is the fact that we can search out other media. We don't have to necessarily listen to the mainstream media. We can go through other avenues and search out other news. And through the social media, we've become our own reporters, so to speak, okay, of what's happening.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that actually wasn't true back then during my time under the communism. You just had one TV and that's it, right?
That was
You
it.
didn't even
Yeah.
have any computers back then
Yeah. And just
or
one
any
channel.
cell phones. And so that's all you saw is just the propaganda. So I
Yeah.
remember there was one lady that actually, she at one point after many years came to visit abroad to the Western side of things. And she went to the grocery store and almost keeled over crying
Wow.
because of all the grocery availability of fruits and vegetables and all this stuff. Whereas where she's been living under communism, there was such a scarcity of everything
Yeah.
all the time. There was empty shelving all the time, and so, yeah, she was just flabbergasted that other people were able to live like that. And she was behind the Iron Curtain, literally living in jail.
Yeah. Literally.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
not knowing it.
And not knowing it, not having any idea.
Yeah.
And
That there's
yeah,
abundance in this world.
right. Exactly.
So much
And
abundance.
yeah. And so we can create quite the illusion for people in a country, where they're at, and through basically television or media, right?
Right.
As to what, and let them believe certain things that aren't true. You know what I mean? Like that there is scarcity on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And, which isn't true, right? She went abroad and saw for herself and she about keeled over crying.
Yeah. Crying out of joy. Tears
Yeah,
of
it's
joy.
just,
They.
overwhelmed with the thought that she's been lied to all this time and that she's lived in this scarcity that was not necessary and that other people lived completely different than she,
Yes.
even
Talk
though
about.
she was led to believe otherwise, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Talk
Yeah.
about mind blown.
Totally mind blown, yes, totally mind blown.
Yeah.
And
And
so that's what they're doing today to us, or trying to anyway, and certain people are under huge illusion as to what's really going on in the world.
yeah. And they're doing it to us. One example would be through gas. So they're telling us
What?
we're through gasoline.
Oh,
We have a
gas?
shortage.
Oh,
We
I
have a
see.
shortage of gasoline, and so we've got to up your prices when really there are tons and tons and millions of barrels offshore that we've got them packed in.
Mm.
What is it? The big train cargo
Mm.
cases, those big train freight boxes. Um, we've got so much oil packed and reserved, and yet the prices continue to go up for all these erroneous, bogus reasons.
Well, and that's the interesting part about the US too, is, and maybe it's other places as well, but it's like any excuse to raise prices on you. It doesn't matter what the hell it is, it's rains or something, immediately gas prices go up. It's the same with like the gas pipeline, the fact that Biden canceled the gas pipeline, right?
Yeah,
Well, they can still truck it. Okay. It's not like we don't have access anymore.
right.
But yeah, immediately everything's gonna go up.
Yep. All their
Why?
yes. All
You
this
know why?
illusion. Yeah,
Yeah.
all this nonsense. You gave a great example of it right before we started when you said that these because they like bone broth now. They used
Oh
to
yes. Right.
throw the bones away, or give it away to you for free, and now you got to pay $8 a pound for these bones just because someone said bone broth was beneficial
It's a fad now. Yeah.
for health. And so now everybody wants to get their fair share of cranking the money up or cranking
Right.
the price up
Right.
just to gouge us.
Yes. And that's specifically true for when it comes to your health.
Specific.
With supplements and things like that, or things that are healthy for you.
Yeah.
Like for example, I mean, just a simple example like mayonnaise, right? So the mayonnaise that has calcium disodium EDTA in it as a preservative, which is a chemical, which is not good for you,
Right.
costs $2.50.
Yeah.
So then they have the natural mayonnaise without that, and they use lemon to preserve it with, which is also preservative, right?
Yep.
And that costs $5 or up to $10 a mayonnaise. Now
Yep.
tell me the reasoning behind that.
To take money from us under
Yeah.
any reason that they find legit, even though it's non-legitimate reasons.
Right.
Yeah. It's great.
It's like, okay, I should pay less if I don't have calcium disodium EDTA that I don't want in it, right?
Right. Because it costs money to put that poison in.
Make that fucking chemical, right?
But they want to make it super cheap so that we buy the super cheap stuff to keep our body sick with poison and toxins.
Because they also know they're going to make more money of us when we get ill, right?
Well, I've been saying for decades that death and illness, or death and disease, are much more profitable than health and wellness.
I tell you what.
Sad,
but that's also so not true. You know what I mean? Because again, it's based on the scarcity lack mentality, right? It's like, okay, we can only make money if somebody's sick. Well, what if you could do other things, when you're healthy? Like, I don't know, build, cars that can fly or whatever. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to keep people sick over here and trying, everybody's struggling to get healthy. And so you don't really, you lose your productivity as, things you could be actually accomplishing. What if we were to work on, how do we get to the moon? Or how can we live up there? Or, doing bigger, better things instead of, struggling over here with this thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, could we have different jobs, right? I mean, create different things, do different things. Maybe we could invent stuff that, hey, that would be so awesome that, yeah, people are very willing to pay a good price for it. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, there is no limit to what we can do,
Not at
or
all.
the kind of work we can do, or, the way we can live. But as long as we're, living under this scarcity mentality, we get stuck in this whole low vibration stuff over here that we keep repeating same old BS and not getting anywhere.
Well, of course it's intentional. They want to keep us in this low vibration. And the questions that you raised, why can't we just spend our time building good things or venturing into space? Well, we should be as a civilization on planet Earth, but it contradicts the agenda that the current powers that be have. They want to keep us control under their thumb. They don't want us flourishing, because once we flourish and see our own worth, then we don't need them anymore. Then we're going to discard them. And of course, now they no longer have power and control over billions of people.
And that's exactly it, Gavin. You just really touched on the issues here, which is power and control, right? That's why these people do what they do, right? The Chinese Communist Party or the New World Order or the deep state. It's all about control and power, right? That's what it's about. So here's my little 2 cents worth on this one, because he's laughing already over there. So what if these, so here are these people trying to grab power and control by basically diminishing you, right? Okay. Yes. By overpowering you. So there's this false sense of, okay, if I disempower you, I'm going to have more power.
Right.
But it's not true. Do you know that if you do the proper healing within your soul, right, you can actually rise back into your power, okay? And you'll have the real personal power that you're seeking out there by disempowering somebody else that you'll never have, really.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. And so here, these people are trying to do all this external stuff that is harmful to other people, thinking that they'll have this, power that they'll get by disempowering all these people and controlling them and all that stuff, which is such a false premise. It's only a temporary thing. It's an addictive temporary thing. It's like a pill that only, serves to make you feel powerful for 10 minutes, and then you need more of it, right? But when you actually heal yourself out of your shadows or out of your, pain that's causing this need for power, right?
Right.
Then you actually create more personal power for yourself, okay, within yourself. And then you don't need to pull somebody else down, to tear them down in order to feel powerful, because you already are.
That's right.
And so it's all about every issue that we're dealing with on this planet today can be resolved literally, okay, through healing, transforming of pain, and rising up the vibrational tone scale.
Amen. Absolutely. And that's what they don't want us to do.
But if they understood that if they did it, they wouldn't need to be destructive to others.
So you're talking about the cabal, the 1%, the power that be, right? Yeah. I get that.
But I mean, the reason they feel disempowered is because somebody else took their power from them at some point.
Yeah, that's right.
Through some kind of pain.
And it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, yeah. And that, it's so interesting because there's so much talk today about, the all the abused children that all these people are involved with, abusing children, whether it's the cabal or the, the movie stars, they're involved, the politicians are involved in it, and being pedophiles and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, the abuse of children, that's like, especially sexual abuse, is the worst way you can take somebody's power away.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is what perpetuates more of the same. Because then that person goes out and tries to gain power by, again, harming someone else.
Well, doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing. And so it keeps perpetuating.
Yeah.
But you can resolve that through actually healing.
Of course.
You can resolve it by healing it within yourself, within the soul, and you can reverse all that.
That's right.
Okay. So you don't need to go out there and actually hurt somebody else to gain power. Do you know, it was interesting. I was watching one time, I don't know, something about how a murderer becomes a murderer, right? These mass murderers and stuff. And it's kind of like, really, got me thinking, why do they do that? What do they get off on killing someone, of squashing them to the point where that they're dead, basically, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, as I was watching what I was watching, I learned that it's about that little bit of power they get from actually squashing somebody else's light out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very
It's
sick.
actually a power thing.
It is.
Okay. And
It's
so
high.
and it becomes an addictive thing.
Yeah.
So they actually get a rush out of it, and then they have to go do it again. And all of that again comes from being made powerless at some point and losing their own power. And all of that can be cured.
Amen. We know that.
Sorry, pharmaceuticals, for me saying cured. Because all of that can be cured. And you don't even need a pill for that. Ha 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 ha.
Right? You mean a chemical toxin?
A toxin, right? So, and you don't even have to cut out any parts either. Okay.
Thank goodness.
I know, it's like that's the medical industry these days. But yeah, so I mean, you can, help yourself get better, but it's not through regular therapy either.
True.
I'm talking about deep soul healing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking really going down deep into the soul and reconciling things, including becoming whole again, because a lot of us fracture pieces of ourselves away.
True.
And so we need to reincorporate them. It's all part of the healing process as well.
Yeah.
And it's about, really healing that pain, that underlying pain, because it is out of our pain that we cause dysfunction or act dysfunctionally, if you will.
That's right. And in the shamanic world, we call it a soul retrieval, to bring those pieces back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones that splintered due to trauma, excessive trauma or continued trauma.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I found through my work over the last 15 years that incorporating some of these pieces is very critical, actually, because they can actually retain parts of you that you no longer have, when you actually split away from that piece of yourself, if you will. And it depends. It could be different for, anybody as to what part of yourself you split away from. Yeah. But I can tell you one really amazing example. And not every soul piece is as critical, I guess, if you will. It depends on what part of yourself, like I say, you split away from. Mm-hmm. But I had this one gal one time come to me, and she had been actually sexually abused as a kid, and I helped heal a lot of that with her.
Awesome.
And one of the things that, she kept saying when she first came to me is that she lost her identity somewhere. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting, as we went through the different healings with her, we found out that her identity was actually a piece of her soul that she disconnected from.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wild.
And it was totally wild. And so when we discovered that and incorporated that,
right,
it was like magic. The amazing U-turn she made with who she was as a result of the incorporation of the soul piece. That was her identity. I mean, she basically came to me looking like Raggedy Ann, smoking pot, no purpose in life, kind of like looking, no makeup, just kind of hair all over. And so the next session she came to me, which was like a couple of weeks later. She quit smoking pot. She colored her hair. She put on makeup. She put on beautiful clothes. Excellent. And she took on dance lessons. I'm like, who the hell are you?
I don't know this person.
I don't know this person. And so all because we incorporated the soul piece identity for her.
That's right.
So this really stuff, it's energetic stuff, but it makes such a huge freaking difference. It's incredible.
Yeah, well,
or it can anyway, not in every instance do you have that kind of extreme example, but it can make such huge difference. So
yeah, and I think it does largely because there's an energetic imprint that happens when there's a crisis, when the physical body experiences a crisis, there's this energetic stamp. So a good example would be when you are in a car accident and you're driving and all of a sudden you're rear-ended, and upon impact, your head goes this way and it goes back that way, and so you get whiplash. But right upon that impact, so let's fast forward 3 months, your neck is healed, all the physical things are healed, but there's still something out of whack, something out of place. And you know what that is? That's the energetic imprint of the car crash that happened. So when your body physically contracted and you got smashed and slammed, that pain and that fear is still residing within your physical vessel. And it's that needs to be removed and healed.
It's interesting because I think what you're calling an energetic imprint is what I call actually when the subconscious mind takes sort of a photographic memory of what happened to you. And so everything in that moment is recorded, including your blood, your pulse, your what fear. You ate, your fear, your emotions, what you thought, what anybody said in that whole, scenario, if there were other people there, all the pain you experienced, everything, the weather, whether the sun was shining or it was, raining, or, it's all recorded, everything you ate, everything you're emotionally feeling, thinking, and all that stuff is all in that snapshot. And so what happens is that it's part of that unresolved pain, or what I call the unresolved pain, right?
That's right.
So when you actually go back and heal that and you properly integrate that, that's when this energetic print goes away, because that's when it actually transmutes the pain into wisdom for the soul, and it changes structure. Like, for example, similar to, if you eat a piece of broccoli, and if once you digest that broccoli, it becomes what? It's no longer in the form of broccoli, right? It becomes nutrition for the body, right? So it's the same thing with the pain. Once you transmute the pain, it's no longer in the form of pain. It becomes nutrition to the soul in the form of wisdom. Yes. And so all of a sudden that energetic print changes, and that's through the part of healing that. The healing part is the transmuting of the pain. And that's what causes to also release those emotions that are stuck in there and all that stuff. That's what causes you to get rid of all that anxiety that you might have as a result, or the fear, or, the part where you get into a car and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to crash my car. That's all part of that, right?
Yep. For sure.
That all goes away.
That's memory, like a cellular memory.
Yes.
Energetic memory. That's why I called it an imprint.
Right. Now you still have that memory, but you don't have the charge in it. What you're actually transforming is the charge in it.
That's right.
Right. So it doesn't have any more impact on you, I guess, if you will. The charge is gone out of it.
Yeah. The imprint has no more impact.
Exactly. Yes. Very good, Gavin. Very good, Gavin. Yes, exactly. So, I have healed stuff, even like, for example, recurring pain from a surgery, for example.
Right. Yes.
Going back into the surgery and actually healing whatever the remaining pain is of that memory that you had when you laying there unconscious, right? And, you're still recording it. And, for those people who don't understand, just because you're out doesn't mean you're not recording it. Your subconscious is recording double time when you're out.
Yes.
Okay, so your memory is there, and you can actually have recurring pain later in a certain part of your body as a result of surgery, just because of that memory. And so because the body doesn't know the difference, whether a memory is running, causing you the pain, or it's real pain that you're experiencing right now. There's no difference.
You're right. I fully agree.
Yeah. That's why actually people can experience what I call phantom pain. Like, somebody losing a limb and they still have pain in their limb, even though they don't have the limb anymore.
right? Isn't that
Yeah.
weird?
Uh-huh. It's because it's in the memory.
Correct. Exactly.
You're
It's
running the
not,
memory of it. Yeah.
it's in the memory. It's energetic memory. Yes.
Yes.
Because clearly the physical limb is not there anymore. So it's an
Right.
energetic memory.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so that's cool. Now I don't know how we got on all that stuff, but there it
Me
is.
either. But clearly it was something that we needed to talk about.
I guess so, yes. Yeah, this is all interesting stuff, when you start talking about the nitty-gritties of how we actually work. And I think, that in today's world with the war we're fighting, and we are in a war
We are
globally, okay?
World War III, and people want to not
Yeah.
believe it's happening. It's all happening behind the scenes.
Yes, we are in a war, but it's not
Good versus evil,
with
by the
a clear-cut enemy, because the enemy are us. Okay, the enemy is the people in the low vibration.
way. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
and
got
a
you.
lot of us have low vibration within us.
Oh yeah.
And so we keep, as long as we have that low vibration stuff stuck in us, we keep recreating that in the world, because people don't understand how we manifest.
Right. Correct.
A lot of people think that it's our thoughts. Well, your thoughts is one thing that you can manifest with, but it's not the only thing you're manifesting with.
Mm-hmm.
You're manifesting with your entire vibration, with everything that's in your vibration, including your pain.
Right.
So if you experienced pain before, or that hasn't been fully resolved, you will be creating situations in life to mimic that pain. And so
Yes.
therefore, you're recreating that pain again.
Yes.
And so, say, for example, if we're cancel culture, and we're a cancel culture because we have a need to control, because we've been controlled and all this stuff, and we have control in our vibration, guess what? We're going to keep recreating control out there
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in our
that's right.
future.
Because that's what we know. That's what we're programmed to do. We're creatures of habit.
Well, not just habit. It's not the habit part of it. It's about the pain of it. Because the soul wants to keep recreating it so that you can learn your lesson. Because if you haven't fully digested it, you haven't learned your lesson.
That's right. So as
So
long as
the soul wants to recreate it. So you go out there and keep recreating situations. You keep attracting just the right people. You keep attracting the right situations to recreate a certain pain that you haven't learned from yet.
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's not a habitual thing. It's a soul thing. Your soul wants to learn from experiences, and it can't learn from them until you digest them. And until you digest them, you're going to keep recreating it. Whether you understand it, whether you're aware of it or not, it doesn't matter.
So that's what I mean by habitual. We're going to keep creating it habitually.
Yeah, but habit is a little bit different, I think, than this particular phenomena happens for a reason. It happens out of the fact that the soul wants to learn from its experiences. It wants us to digest our experiences, so it keeps putting us into the same situation.
Yeah.
So that we hopefully digest it. Now, most of us don't understand what the hell is happening, so we just keep shoving it under the rug, and we create another layer on top of the last one that was painful.
That's right.
So yeah, but it happens out of that reason, rather than habitual is more of a thing where, because you repeated it 50 times, you keep repeating it for no reason. You know what I mean? That's habit. Whereas from the soul standpoint, it's more of a thing of, the soul wants to learn from experiences, wants you to actually heal it. So it puts you back into the trenches of it all the time, so that you can reconnect with it, because only then can you heal it, if you reconnect with it.
Yep.
But that is how we keep creating the same old. And I think that until more of us understand that and start working on ourselves to heal our unresolved stuff, we have a long, long road ahead of us to get up to 5D.
Right. I
Okay.
agree that it is about working on ourselves and clearing this energetic imprints that we have that we
Mhm.
accumulated throughout our life.
And not
But
just this life.
right. Good point. Accumulated throughout our lives, our lifetimes.
Right.
But again, it goes back to the fact that we are being proactively stopped and prohibited from this type of healing simply by the fact that society does not value it. You know, we don't value emotions, we don't value energy work, we don't value counselors and nurses and teachers.
Mhm.
You know, we value movie stars and musicians and athletes, and
And entertainment.
we give them the millions of dollars, and we let the glue, you know, the teachers and the counselors and the nurses, we let them live paycheck to paycheck earning
Mhm.
$50,000 while we give these entertainment folks, you know, millions and millions of bucks.
I know. It's a
The
sad thing,
society
you
is
know.
yeah, society is upside down and backwards, you know.
Yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of it, I think, we have to wake up to that concept, to,
Yeah.
wanting to change things and wanting to live different and better, you know.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's about individual responsibility, because everybody
mhm.
wants to pass the buck and they think, oh, it's not my issue, it's not my fault, it has nothing to do with me. Well, actually, you're totally wrong. It has everything to do with you.
Everything to do with you, exactly.
Yeah,
And I mean, I love it always when I put up some posts on like Facebook and, people are like, yeah, that's great. And they pass it on to somebody else. Like it doesn't, but they have nothing to do with it.
that's
You're all part of it too, So yeah, and I mean, people don't realize how much unresolved stuff they really have in that space. And you don't have to have necessarily some big ass traumas in your life in order to have to do healings on yourself for unresolved things.
that's right.
Some stuff comes from past life. You know, I spent like very minor amount of time healing my present life.
Hmm.
There wasn't very much to heal in my present life.
Right.
But I spent the last, if I maybe spend a whole year in my present life, that's it. But the last 14 years or whatever, I spent healing past lifetimes,
Yes, absolutely.
And it depends on how old of a soul you are. I mean, some people have lived like thousands and thousands of lifetimes. If you've lived only 2 other lifetimes, you don't have much to do, but, you know.
So true. So very
So,
true.
yeah, but we have to definitely, and Dolores Cannon, for those of you who may know Dolores Cannon, perhaps, she was a very popular hypnotherapist and a healer. She wrote a number of books. I really love her.
Me
She's a
too.
cool person. I've got one of her books. It's called, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth is one of her books that I got. And
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I have that one too.
you do? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so anyway, she's a real cool person. And she also, I saw in one of her videos, she said too, the key thing is you got to offload that karma. And that's
Yeah,
the same thing. Karma is really unresolved stuff, is what that is.
that's
That's
right.
your karma. That's what keeps coming back at you.
Absolutely.
As I said just now with the repetition stuff. And so you can stop cycles, for people who have cycles throughout family generations of, say, abuse or violence or whatever. This is
Right.
how you can stop the cycle, is through healing yourself. You don't have to have anybody else. You just
Well,
have to heal it within yourself. That's it.
I think that that's really the only way to stop the cycle,
Yeah,
is taking accountability for what happened to you in this lifetime and previous lifetimes. And
absolutely.
until the soul is able to account for that, or atone,
Mhm.
or heal, or whatever the soul needs to do, it's not going to be resolved, and you're going to continue to carry it forward.
Yes, exactly. And because again, that whole repetition thing, the soul needs to learn from it as long as it's unresolved. And you keep carrying that from one lifetime to the next. Okay. And
Yep.
so, what's interesting to me, and give me your opinion about this, this new thing that I hear about, the genealogy, or is it genealogy, or where you pass on like illnesses from one ancestor to another ancestor type of a thing. What are they calling it?
Genealogical.
Is it
Genealogy
It's
is
different than genealogy. There's some kind of other term, a little bit different term. I don't know. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
okay.
But anyway, yeah, it's nothing more than just you passing it on to yourself all the time, okay? Because you got to understand that you've lived in those past lifetimes as your own ancestry sometimes. And so, yeah, and then you live with the same souls, right? Because you always reincarnate with the same bunch of souls together, and we just trade in terms of roles, you know, how we experience things. And so what happens is quite often the same souls, like when you got your mother and your sister, you know, you keep experiencing similar experiences, right? Because you live together. Yeah. So that's how you then have similar effects, health effects, or, you know, however it's, you know, coming out in your life as a struggle, right? Yeah. You know, and so it comes from that because you're passing on the unresolved pain all the time.
That's right.
You know, because you carry it from one lifetime to another. It actually is attached to soul. It's not attached to body.
Right. Good distinction. It is attached to your soul as opposed to your physical body. Because when we lay down this physical body, we still have those traumas imprinted energetically on our soul until you take accountability and heal it and release it.
Exactly. And much the same, like we just talked about that limb that's missing, right? That's gone. And we still keep feeling it, or feeling the pain in it, even though it's not there anymore. That's that imprint that's on your soul. It's not in your body, it's in your soul.
Yep.
So yeah, you know, so hey, Gavin, I think we're kind of running almost at the hour here. Yeah. And so I think it was a great conversation. I hope that whoever watches this enjoys our conversation. Right. And you know, I just want to say that we're gonna do this every Saturday at 2:00, right? Is what we decided on, Gavin. We'll be streaming live, and that's 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so you can watch us live, streaming live. And we appreciate any comments you have for us, or any input, or even questions you can, you know, ask below the video, and we're going to try to address that next time. Yeah. And also give us a like if you liked what you heard, if you liked our video, you know, or subscribe on our channel if you like what you hear, so you don't miss any of the videos that we come out with. And we appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Hope that we were able to enlighten someone out there.
Amen. And they can also, of course, give us suggestions for topics that we'll talk about in the future. Yes. So if they have things that they're wondering about, or something that they always wish they knew, or had some other insight, or wanted somebody else's perspective, shoot us in the email or text or chat, and we'll do that as a future topic. Absolutely. Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.